2.5 years ago, I stood in this very hall to make my first speech as leader of our party. I said then that the chance for change was within our reach, and we had to seize it. Now that chance came. Okay, perhaps not quite in the way many of us could have expected, but the chance came, and we, responded with real courage and conviction. Cynics expected us to back away. Instead, we confounded those who said that coalition government was impossible. We created a government which will govern and govern well for the next 5 years. Of course, there are those who will condemn us. We are challenging years of convention and tradition, and our opponents will yell and scream about it. But I am so proud of the quiet courage and determination which you have shown through these momentous times in British political history. Hold our nerve, and we will have changed British politics for good. Hold our nerve, and we will have changed Britain for good. Just think what we've done already. We've ended the injustice of the richest paying less tax on investments than the poorest do on their wages. We've guaranteed older people a decent increase in their pension. In November, we will publish a freedom bill to roll back a generation of illiberal and intrusive legislation. By Christmas, identity card laws will be consigned to the history books. From New Year's Day, then a few weeks later, from New Year's Day, the banks will pay a new levy that will help fill the black hole they helped create. On the 1st of April, 900,000 low earners will stop paying income tax altogether. In May next year, the people of Britain will get to choose their own voting system. And this time, next year, there will be a pupil premium so the children who need the most help get the most help. We've always been the face of change. We are now the agents of change. And every single person in this hall today is part of that change. Actually, there's one contribution that you all made to the success of the coalition negotiations, which you're probably not aware of. Our formidable negotiating team got all the training they needed battling out policy right here on the conference floor. Some things, of course, are different in government. Some are the same. I still think the war in Iraq was illegal. The difference is lawyers now get anxious when I mention it. I still believe in our commitments to the developing world. The difference is I get to make those commitments at a UN summit later this week and make them happen. I still campaign for political reform. The difference is I'm now legislating for it as well. The only real problem in all of this is I'm still trying to explain to our children that going from leader to deputy PM is not a demotion. We will take risks in government, but we will never lose our soul. We haven't changed our liberal values. Our status is different, but our ambition is the same. Remember the 4 big promises we made in the election campaign? For the first time in my lifetime, Liberal Democrats are able to deliver on those promises. We promised No tax on the first £10,000 you earn. We've already raised the personal allowance by £1,000. And in the coming years, we will go further to put money back in the pockets of millions of low earners. We promised more investment in the children who need the most help at school. It will happen at the start of the next school year. We promised a rebalanced green economy, a new kind of growth. Already we're taking action on the banks. We've set up a regional growth fund. There will be a green investment bank to channel money into renewable energy. These are the first steps to rewire our economy. New jobs, new investment, new hope. And we promised clean politics. We're giving people a chance to change our voting system, cleaning up party funding, and finally, a century after it should have happened, we're going to establish an elected House of Lords. These pledges we made together in the election of 2010 will be promises kept in the election of 2015. The coalition programme, which commits the government to making all these changes, it isn't the Liberal Democrat manifesto, but it's not the Conservative manifesto either. It's our shared agenda, and I stand by it. I believe in it. I believe it will change Britain for good. Now some say we shouldn't have gone into government at a time when spending had to be cut. We should have let the Conservatives take the blame, waited on the sidelines, ready to reap the political rewards. Well, maybe that's what people expected from a party that has been in opposition for 65 years. People have got used to us being outsiders against every government that's come along. Maybe we got used to it ourselves. But the door to the change we want was opened for the first time in generations. Imagine if we had turned away. How could we ever again have asked the voters to take us seriously? Labour left the country's coffers empty. So the years ahead, they're not going to be easy. But you don't get to choose the moment when the opportunity to shape your country comes your way. All you get to choose is what you do when it does. We chose a partnership government. The truth is, I never expected the Conservatives to embrace negotiation and compromise. But they did, and it does them credit. David Cameron showed he could think beyond his party and help build a new kind of politics. The election result didn't give a single party the mandate to govern. It gave all parties the mandate to govern differently. We answered that call. And one of the most remarkable surprises of this coalition government is that our parties are not, despite so many cynical predictions, simply settling for the lowest common denominator between us. Instead, we have become more than the sum of our parts. Now, for those of us who believe in plural politics, that's not a surprise. In life, two heads are usually better than one. And in politics too, when the country faces grave challenges, the deficit, the threat of climate change, a war in Afghanistan, millions of children trapped in disadvantage, two parties acting together can be braver, fairer and bolder than one party acting alone. The new politics. The new politics, plural politics, partnership politics, coalition politics, is the politics our nation needs today. The Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives are and always will be separate parties with distinct histories and different futures. But for this Parliament, we work together to fix the problems we face and put the country on a better path. This is the right government for right now. Our first job, however, is a difficult one: balancing the budget. I didn't come into politics to make spending cuts, but it's the only choice if we want to steer Britain out of the economic mess Labour made. The only choice if we want to bring back hope and optimism to our nation. We are gripped by a crisis, and it's the worst kind. It's invisible. You can't see the debts mounting up. Walk the high street, go to work, talk to your friends. You won't see the signs of our debts or our deficit. The numbers sound alarming, but in the end, they're just numbers. It doesn't feel like we can't afford things. So how did this debt crisis happen? Put simply, over the course of the recession, 6% of our economy disappeared. The shock was so profound that even now the economy is growing again. We are poorer today than we thought we would be. All the old predictions about our future economy, predictions on which spending plans had been based, have turned out to be wrong. We can't keep spending money as if nothing had changed. The problems are there. They are real. And we have to solve them. It's the same as a family with earnings of £26,000 a year who are spending £32,000 a year, even though they've already got £40,000 of debts. Imagine if that was you. You'd be crippled by the interest payments. You'd set yourself a budget and you'd try to spend less. That is what this government is doing. This isn't new for Liberal Democrats. Speak to councillors who've led councils across the country. They know what it's like to pick up the pieces after Labour spent a community dry. Newcastle, Sheffield, Lambeth, Southwark, and right here in Liverpool, our council leaders know the poorest are the ones that suffer when the finances get out of control and money has to be spent on debts. They know there is nothing fair about denying you have a problem and simply leaving it for the next generation to clear it up.